Welcome back to Metropole TV. This is The Smart Investor. This is Ali Khan Sachu, and it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. And I've also got a wonderful guest in the studio with us, Kamal, founder, CEO of Craft Silicon Software and of Little Cabs. 400 employees today, 45 countries. What a story, Kamal.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you for making time. Kamal, before I get to the ride-hailing and the platform economy, let me just start with the software business, which was where you made your mark. It was mostly in banking software, was it not?
That's true.
That's where you focused on?
Yes.
And if you were to describe it, what were you doing? You're putting in the core banking system for banks?
So that's where it started. We started with a co-banking platform, the ERP platform for a bank that allows a bank to do their day-to-day operations. That was my first product.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you bring that product to the market?
It's close to about 12 to 15 years now.
Yeah. Then from there, you sort of grew that. I saw you had wallet-type products. You had, you just tell us a little bit about that drive you had.
So I think what we did is we actually flew a flow with the flow.
Yes.
So initially co-banking systems were important for the banks. Banks were running with that. Then the internet technology came in, so we had products for internet banking and omni-channel solutions. Mobile then came in, so we also came up now with the mobile banking products. I think we had to keep on reinventing ourselves in order to be on top of our business.
Yes, so you've had to be quite fluid and flexible.
That is true.
And how do you run an organization to be that agile?
I think at Craft Silicon, all of us are techies.
Yes.
All the way from me down to the people who work with us. Most of us are techie people, and we like reinventing. So we are not really a sales people, but the sales came in as a byproduct of the technology that we always used to develop.
Which surely is the right approach,
which
right?
actually is the right approach, I think.
So now you're telling me you're in 45 countries.
That's true.
And with the software, and you're basically supporting banks and people all across the world then?
That's true. So we mostly focus on the emerging countries. So we have customers all across the continent, both Anglophone countries and English-speaking countries. But we also have a lot of countries in Asia, in India, Philippines, Vietnam. So we have two large setups. One is obviously in Kenya. It's a Kenyan company. So we support the continent from here, from Kenya. And we also have an equivalent big office in Bangalore in India that supports the Asian customers.
So, okay, so now in the banking world, you've had this huge penetration, but you were telling me earlier before we came on that you felt the government could support indigenous companies better. Do you want to expand on that?
I think that has always been a complaint, and not just me as one of the companies running in this country, but also if you talk to a lot of these software companies that we have here, very bright people, very innovative companies, but to scale them up, very, very difficult. And I think one of the reasons it's so difficult is because we do not get really good support from us here. I mean, when my sales in West Africa is much larger than what we do in East Africa.
Are you serious?
Definitely, by far. And that's not just for us. I mean, it is for even some very good companies like Cellulant is a very good company in our country. I'm sure they would have similar complaints, and any other good companies that are in the country, because I think we do not get good support, locally, which. Just some days back, there was a tender that was floated by one of the county governments, and they clearly say they are looking for, Oracle and SAP systems, ERPs. I mean, why? They should exclude that clause and also allow, local companies who have ERP platforms to provide them. I mean, but we were just knocked out from day one.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you don't think we're supporting it? What about capital? Is there, a complaint I hear from a lot of people is a lot of money is sitting with older people who don't really get this new world that we're living in, where you hail an Uber or little cabs, and the world has changed. We had the Nairobi Securities Exchange CEO here, and he was telling me, Ali Khan, we're going to do a technology board. We understand we got to provide a platform for. Do you feel that we have enough capital which is ready to invest in businesses like yours to create a Silicon Savannah like we have in San Francisco?
My honest answer is, I
Yes.
think we are still a bit far.
Yes.
And the reason we feel that we are still a bit far is investors today, especially around here, would ask you for a business plan and ask you for the returns. However, some of the investments that you do onto this technology, I think you first just grow. You first scale up and then figure it out how you are going to make money. I mean, look at cases like Uber and Airbnb and anybody else, even Facebook.
But that's my question to you. Do our people understand? If you look at that, I remember I saw loss numbers for Uber, 11 billion accumulated losses.
Yeah.
And every response was, look, this company is never going to make it. Who's ever going to give it any money? And I'm sitting there thinking, they've nearly got 100 million customers, right? The day they just play with the tweak with the margins, all of a sudden it's a different ball game.
That's true.
Right? And Amazon was the same story. But, so Jumia raised money in New York. Could they have raised it in Africa?
I doubt.
You doubt.
I doubt. And the reason, as I said, I doubt is that the people need to understand the mathematics of a business like this.
Yes.
Where if they are just going by the numbers that's sitting on the balance sheet, it cannot get the value. Yeah.
So this is really these the platforms that can scale and grow globally. Now let me come to you on another component, which is of course Little Cabs.
Yeah.
Your ride-hailing company, which when I tweeted that you were coming on the show, 2 or 3 people tweeted back and said, Ali Khan, we really respect him because he's looking after his drivers and he's looking after his people. So I think, let me give you that compliment, because that's a real compliment, and and I think that means a lot, particularly to your brand. Now, coming to Little, lots of competition, right? I mean, Taxify, Uber, etc. What is your USP? What has made you successful to date? Because I notice, it seems to me the choice is now Uber or you. Now, why has that happened? How has that happened?
So what we felt and what we realized is that, look, the face of a company like Little is obviously the drivers.
Yeah.
So for us, our approach was slightly different than our competition, where the focus was on the riders.
Yeah.
We thought if you start focusing on the drivers, and the drivers are the one giving you the service,
and they're happy,
then end customers would end up getting a better service than our competition.
Yes.
And it has really happened. Today, if you look at it, if you take a Little ride and you take a competition ride, I'm so sure that the experience on both of them, the same driver who drives Little is the same driver who is driving the other apps. When he serves you on other apps and he when serves you on Little, you will see the difference.
Yeah. So do you think that's because you've motivated them, you're taking less of a margin, I imagine?
We pay more. So on Little, you actually pay slightly higher as a customer as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're paying higher as a customer,
That's
and then
true.
you're distributing higher.
That's true.
Now,
and we also take lesser commission. So drivers are benefiting on both sides.
Okay.
We charge them a little lesser, and we also charge rider a little higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've widened it.
That's
You've
true.
opened it out. Now, let's talk about, because you are right in the thick of this ride-hailing business. We've had Uber, we've had Lyft. It's been front and center of our news. What is the opportunity in your mind? You told me that you thought Little could be bigger than Crofts Silicon. So you obviously think this is a big opportunity, right?
Yeah.
But in order to exploit that opportunity, what are you doing? Are you going regional?
Yes, we are going regional.
Okay.
As we speak, we are operating 4 countries. So
Which
we are
ones?
Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Zambia.
Okay.
Yeah. And the plan is to be across the continent in coming years.
Now, okay, so you want to go continent-wide.
That's right.
Now, I also read the Uber prospectus, and I'm bringing it up to you because it's a way for me to compare.
Yeah.
I'm not and in that prospectus, they said we're tapping just 1% of the transport opportunity. That it's you're all thinking of just hailing a cab, but there are multiple opportunities. Is that how you feel about it?
So what we do, if you look at it, and I think the reason why we feel that we are doing good progress in the places where we are in, is we are creating an ecosystem around the drivers and the riders.
Yes.
I mean, when you order a Little or you order an Uber or any other competition, normally you move from point A to point B.
Yes.
But for us, we do a lot more than that.
What are you doing?
For example, our drivers are our agents.
Yes.
So they do financial transactions for you. They can pay your light water bills. We do lending to these drivers.
Are you serious?
Everything. Because I have I know if you look at a business plan, we want to make sure that the right income that you get from hailing a person from point A to point B is not the only income that we should get.
Whoa.
We should get income at the other places. So lending to the drivers, it's super hit for us.
Yes.
Our drivers being agents.
So that is you lending as a company?
Yes, currently.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
lending,
Against the cars, the security?
No, we do small lending. So
Yeah.
we don't lend for the vehicles, but we lend for like school fees and
Okay, because you can project what they're earning, you know what
Yes.
yes, okay, so
Yeah.
that's interesting because a lot of them were complaining that that was one of the problems, right?
That's true.
So, okay, so you're doing that, then you're telling me for the customer,
Yeah.
you are doing, you're looking at, because again, Uber talks about Uber Eats, but you're
Yeah.
talking about a whole different ballgame.
So, I mean, my experience from my past employer,
Yes.
past company,
Yes.
is a financial experience.
Yes.
So that's what we are bringing into a platform like Little. So even riders now, because I have a lot of information about the riders,
Yes.
can I start lending to these riders?
So you've got the data.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just to jump from there, because I was at the Banking Awards where you spoke and got an award, and in that, when you were speaking, you were talking about an SME platform that was
Yeah.
going to allow you. Was that platform informed by what you've learned here at Little Cap?
That's true. That's
Is
true.
that right?
Yeah.
So you want to come with an SME lending platform as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Because our drivers, if you look at it, they are SMEs.
Yes.
And drivers can do a lot more. And if you start bringing the additional income to these drivers, then you don't really have to get into the price war.
Yes.
Because, if you have to compete, and I'm sorry to say that, if I have to compete with Uber,
On price.
I cannot do that because
Yeah.
these companies, I mean, you
They're
can
too big.
only, too big, that's one, and you can only compete with players like Uber and the others if you are innovative.
Yes.
You can't compete with them on capital.
Yes.
And that's where we are bringing in all
So
this.
you've been you're innovating around the edges in
Yeah.
order to differentiate yourself.
That is true.
Wow.
That's the only way I think we can survive and grow.
Now, let's talk about capital, because if you look at all these ride-hailing companies, the phenomenal amounts of capital, they put their hand up, billions flew in. We just had the IPOs of Lyft and Uber. We had Uber by Kareem. How are you financing this whole thing? I mean, is it a big capex strain potentially?
It is. It's a big strain. Currently, the financing is happening through us internally. So
Organically.
Organic.
Yes.
Plus, Craft Silicon has also given us a lot of money
Okay.
to grow. We don't have an external investor as we speak.
Yes.
but
Have you been around? Have you been looking?
We are now in the process of looking.
Yeah.
Raising capital in Africa is slightly difficult.
Yes. Are you looking to raise it here at home, or are you going to look
No.
globally?
We are looking globally.
It's a flat world,
Yeah.
right? You got to go where you got to go.
Yeah.
You can't knock on doors if they're not going to give it to you.
Yeah, but the thing is that when we are going to countries like US looking
Yes.
for capital,
What's the response?
They would compare, says Uber has never made money in all these years.
Yes.
You are sitting in a small somewhere in a small corner
Making
of Africa. Will you be able to make enough money?
Yes.
That's the question.
Yes,
And then
because
obviously-
that was the other theory. I don't know if you saw this Economist article, which was talking about the platform economy and Uber and everybody, and it was saying it's about blitz scaling, getting the numbers. That's what people are looking for. Do you think you can blitz scale Africa with Little organically?
Not organically, but with the right support.
Yes.
We can. And you see, I think the definition of a billion-dollar companies, they call unicorn companies,
Yes.
I think is changing a bit now. Before, the right unicorn company, I think what people are now looking is the unicorn company that really makes profit.
Yes.
Because most of the unicorns, they grow in numbers.
Yes.
But when you come in actually in terms of profitability, I think they really suffer.
Yeah.
So our approach has always been that, look, we want to grow as fast as possible, we want to grow as quickly as possible, but we also want to make sure that as we continue growing, we also want to make sure that we just don't blow the investors' money, because you have gotten so much money, you blow so much money.
Yeah.
We are
Well,
very careful.
that's an occupational hazard with people, isn't it? That
Yes.
they get thrown a bunch of cash, bright guy just out of university, Bosch, it will go on in 12 months' time.
That's true.
So, look, what a fantastic growth story you've described to me. Tell me what it looks like 5-10 years from now. Tell me, are you going to list?
We want to list
Yes.
In New York Stock Exchange.
In the
at some
NYC,
point.
okay.
Yeah. We want to be, just as Jumia, obviously, we want to be a $1 billion company. That's our ambition.
Yes.
And I have a feeling that definitely it would happen.
And how long when do you imagine you're going to be ringing that bell, Kamal?
Between 4 to 5 years.
4 to 5 years from now. That's where you're focused on going, and you'd be Pan-African by that stage, which you are already.
Yeah.
And really a sort of emerging South-South company, right? Because if you look at Bangalore, Africa, and where else do you see opportunities? Is there any other new opportunity you're looking at?
So as I said, look, we are not just focusing on ride hailing.
Yeah.
We are focusing on creating an ecosystem around the industry. So we are now bringing, for example, health into the same product.
Health insurance.
Health insurance.
For your drivers.
For our drivers. So I think we'll keep on adding all that, and that will actually help us to
you're
really
increasing the product suite.
Yes.
Yes. And how many products can you put into that suite?
I think a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. And we are very flexible, and we will continue watching how the market is and what the market wants it, and based on that we'll keep on adding, because you as a rider who is on Little, why should you only be hailing cab with Little? You can do a lot more. So that's what we want to achieve.
Wow. So it's really, you're the pipe into the client is the way you're looking at it. It starts off with a ride, and then it could be financial, it could be anything. What keeps you up at night, Kamal? Because you're like a owner entrepreneur. You've been very disciplined about making sure it's sustainable. You're growing a ride-hailing business organically and making it. These are tremendous successes. But does anything keep you up? Besides your daughter overtaking you at coding?
I think what keeps me awake is to. Because I don't want to fail.
Yes.
I am with Craft Silicon.
Yes.
But I am now moving and putting more focus onto Little.
Yeah.
I don't want to regret that decision. That look, a company that was paying me lots and lot, somebody else is running on my behalf, and I'm focusing on Little.
Okay.
So I don't want to.
So you're now in the ride-hailing game. This is your baby. You're looking now to grow that big time.
Yes, but because we also do a lot of financial services on Little,
yes,
it comes in from Craft Silicon. So I am like
both ways.
Both ways.
Yeah. And then tell us, it's sort of 5 years time. What type of revenue are we talking about? What are your targets here? I know it's today you might not want to share that, but what are we looking? What's the story that we're telling people?
I think currently, if you do the broadly, the valuation for Little is in the range of about $150 million.
Okay.
We feel that in about 3 to 5 years down the line, it should be about $2 to $2.5 billion.
Wow. Yeah. So currently, I'm looking at a $150 million opportunity, and you're saying it's $1 billion opportunity.
That is true.
You might well be the first Kenyan unicorn.
My fingers are crossed.
Yes.
We want to make sure that we prove, because every time I see a unicorn coming out, it's always the US. Facebook came from the US, and the Googles and the Micros. Everyone comes from the US.
Yes. Then they started coming from China.
And then now they started coming in from China. It's high time that they now start coming out from Africa, and we want to be there.
So you're there, but do you see many other people there as well? Because I don't know your business, but do you see others and you think, goodness, I'm one of a crowd that could come forward, or are you like the outlier, the Gladwellian one person?
I think there are, but very few, very, very few. And as I said, the reason I think it's very few is the opportunity that are in our countries. I think our country is not really supporting us the way we should have.
So when you say that, practically speaking, what do you really mean? What makes the difference for you? Would you mean that county should have been obligated to put the tender out to indigenous companies first? Is that what you're saying?
No, all I'm saying is give us a level playing field.
Yes.
Don't just say that because this company is come from the US and has done so many ERP installations. Just remove it out, don't do that. Give us an equal opportunity, allow us to compete on a level playing field, and if we prove, then you select us. Don't just discard us without even evaluating us. That's all I'm saying.
You know, I got into a discussion a few days ago about the fact that a software company, ride-hailing company, is really intellectual capital company, right?
Yeah.
You're physically not holding, you don't own the car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That intellectual capital business, do people understand that now? Because I remember many years ago, Bharat Thakra coming to the market with Scan Group, and I was standing outside Nation, and guys said to me, man, that's worth zero. I said, where are the assets? And I said, his assets are his people, that they can produce the P&L. Is that how we should look at you?
So the change is coming. The problem is that the change is coming in slightly slower than we would expect, because time is also very critical. If we don't scale up in another, let's say 3 to 5 years, then we are out. Then we need to now
it's
start
like that, is it?
It's like that.
Do or die.
Yeah, it's do or die. So change is coming, but it's slightly slower. And we just hope that Kenyan or African investors actually start investing into the IP-based companies where the assets are IPs.
Last question, you got all these young people, they're all working for you. How do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them thinking straight? And how do you send them to the future? What is the skill that you have? Because that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
How do you manage them?
I think if you show the people a vision,
yes,
and you make part of your vision them, you also make them part of your vision.
Yes.
It is very easy to manage people, Ali Khan.
Wow.
Very easy. Yeah. If you just tell them do this, but if they are not in your vision, very difficult. But otherwise, it's not that difficult.
That's interesting, because I hear a lot of people saying, this new millennial generation is a different bunch of people to manage. Yeah. But you're describing that you found a method, right?
The average age of Car Silicon employee, or even a little, is 26 years and 5 months.
Wow.
Very, very difficult to manage people, but if you know how to manage them, then they are the most, they can deliver, they can do wonders.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kamal, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to sharing that moment when you ring the bell in the New York Stock Exchange and you have $1 billion valuation.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you'll do it.
Thank you.
And thank you for making the time for us today.
Thank you very much, Rikan.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure. This was The Smart Investor. This was Metropole TV. That was Ali Khan Sachu with you. Thank you for spending the hour with us. We look forward to spending an hour with you tomorrow. And that was Kamal of Craft Silicon and Little Cabs. And did you hear the numbers he was talking about? And I, for one, believe he's going to do it. Thank you.